Welcome back everybody to the second part of my Final Fantasy X challenge run video. On the last episode we had just defeated the Sin spawn and then proceeded to watch Sin destroy everything. Tidus wakes up after the battle and he is going to go visit Wait a minute. I'm pretty sure we selected the option to kill Garta, but whatever. We get more badass lines from Auron.
I'm not done talking to you. Don't you run away.
You're the one running.
Then it's time to continue up the Jose Highroad. And I mentioned in the last episode that the battles start to get a little bit more difficult. There's a bit of a difficulty spike after the Sin spawn boss. And you can see that in this fight here. As you can see, everyone is missing. Nobody has enough accuracy. Auron should be able to one-shot those hard enemies, and he can't. Tidus should be able to kill those dog enemies, and he can't even hit them. And then when he does hit them, he doesn't do enough damage to kill them. So that means we're going to have to change up our tactics. You can also see that the enemies are just doing a lot of damage to us. Tidus gets KO'd by that hard enemy. I went into this fight just blindly attacking, thinking I would win, and it turned out to be quite difficult. We're going to have to really utilise the statuses from Lulu and the Stone Touch weapon for Waka to get through these fights. And this next battle best shows off these tactics. So if that last battle was showing us how everything could go wrong, this is now showing how everything can go right. So we got a crit from Auron, which was lucky. Then we managed to get the Stone Touch off on the dog, killing it. And now all that's left is the Flan. And the good thing about the elemental Flans is that they're weak to silence. And as soon as they're silenced, they can't do anything. They have 3 turns where they cannot do damage. So honestly, you can just keep whacking him and whacking him because our spells won't do enough damage at this point. And you can just hope for a Stone Touch or whittle it down. So yeah, Waka really is the MVP. And Lulu definitely comes in handy when his Stone Touch doesn't come off. But yeah, Waka becomes super useful to us at this point. We make it through the Jose Highroad without bumping into any super hard fights. And now it's time to go pray at the Jose temple. But before that we have this scene, and I don't know why, but the way Yuna says Jose here always really bothered me.
And before that, we get to pray at the temple in Jose.
I managed to get quite a few sphere levels by going down the Jose Highroad, and that means that now Auron is finally on Riku's sphere grid, and we learn Steal and Use. The only other notable thing that happened from this leveling up session is that Tidus learned Life and got some very important magic stats. Once we're inside the temple, we bump into Isaru, who is another summoner on a pilgrimage to defeat Sin. I'm playing this game on the PS4 remastered edition of Final Fantasy X, and it's very clear that the developers spent a lot of time reworking Yuna and Tidus' face in particular, but all the side characters like Isaru, their faces and the mouth in particular just doesn't look correct.
Of course, I've no intention of losing either.
Are you homosexual?
Huh?
Are you homosexual?
So perhaps we should race to see who can defeat Sin first, no?
The Jose Temple trials aren't too difficult, and we even obtain a magic sphere from the chest. We give the magic sphere immediately to Waka, giving him +4 magic. And as you can see on his stats here now, he has 21 magic, meaning he officially has more magic than Lulu did at the start of the game. So that kind of puts into perspective how weak we are.
All these guardians. And Sir Auron too? And I hear Maester Seymour's quite taken with you.
I didn't mention her in the last episode, but there's this recurring character called Donna who kind of follows you on your pilgrimage, and she just has this weird vendetta against Yuna and hates her guts. It's never really explained why, but any moment that you see her, she's just being a complete bitch. And she also suffers from the same issue as Seymour, which is thrusting her private parts way too close to the camera. Before we head to the Moonflow, I decided to pick up this Blitzball player named Q or Kyo, who knows, who cares. But the reason I picked him up is because I had the idea to do a challenge run within this challenge run. So when we get the airship, I'm going to do a special episode where we try to get first place in one Blitzball league using only goalkeepers.
This is the Moonflow.
Here we are at the Moonflow, And there's not much of a difficulty spike between the Josei Highroad and the Moonflow. Honestly, because of Wakka's TKO, this part of the game becomes a cakewalk, much like the Josei Highroad did. So I'm just going to show you what a typical battle looks like. So this fight that we're in here is one of the more difficult fights because we have 2 wasps and an Uchu. And the only thing that can kill the wasps is Wakka's Blizzard, and the only thing that can effectively kill the Uchus is Wakka's TKO. So Wakka really is the MVP right now. He's the only one who can actually deal with most of the enemies at this point in the game. So we really want to get haste on him as quickly as possible. So we send up Kimahri, give him haste, and then it just becomes a case of hoping that Stone Touch succeeds. Because the success rate of Stone Touch is not 100% on an enemy like Uchu, it means we just have to sort of pray to the gods that it actually comes through. There is some backup strategy though. So if we don't get Stone Touch off, we can send out Lulu and she can use Sleep Attack on Uchu, and that just ensures that Uchu never gets a turn and can never really poison us. But once again, Sleep Attack isn't 100% accurate, and as you go through the game it becomes less and less accurate. So we can't really rely on these sort of statuses for a while, but at this stage in the game it's kind of broken. And as you can see there, Wakka gets his Stone Touch off. And this happens through almost every other fight. So here's a quick little montage of Wakka just demolishing everything down the Moonflow with Stone Touch.
Piece of cake.
We arrive at the other side of Moonflow and pick up the snake head weapon for Kimahri. And then it's time to...
Right, shoe puff?
But oh no, Yuna's been kidnapped. Again.
Sorry.
Wakka and Tidus jump in the water to save Yuna, as they're the only 2 that can swim. And we also have a little boss fight here against this giant blitzball mech machine. I was originally quite worried about this boss because I thought Wakka and Tidus's defenses are quite low and their magic isn't very high, so I wasn't sure how they would deal much damage by themselves. But it turns out this blitzball machine thing really doesn't have much health, and using Thunder and Tidus's slow touch weapon made it so that this fight really was nothing to worry about. And anytime we did take damage, Tidus could easily just use Cure and get our HP back up. So this was honestly nothing to worry about at all. I won't show you all the fight because nothing really happens. We get through it very easily and rescue Yuna. We pick up our second goalkeeper on the other side of the Moonflow, and then we discover Riku, who is actually in that giant blitzball machine that tried to kidnap Yuna earlier. And for absolutely no reason whatsoever, she just decides to join the party. Nobody has any reason to say that she can't. Lulu, Yuna and Riku go off for a little bit and are all like blah 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 blah, and then Yuna comes back and is all like,
I would like Riku to be my guardian.
and then Auron's like,
If Yuna wishes it.
Yes, I do.
and then that's just it, like she's just in the party. Bearing in mind, this is the reaction everybody had when Tidus was asked to be Yuna's guardian.
To be my guardian.
You know what? There's no time for jokes, yeah?
I just want him nearby.
Wow.
The woman was too stunned to
So that's cool. We've got our red mage now. We have a full party of 7 characters, and it's time for the most boring part of the entire run, which is getting through Guado Salam. So there's really not much to see here. We pick up a cool weapon for Lulu, which has Death Strike. So Lulu and Wakka can both one-shot enemies quite easily now. And we also pick up Yuma Guado, who is our 3rd goalkeeper for our goalkeeper-only team. Some important story stuff happens, like Seymour asking Yuna to marry him before disappearing.
They say Seymour went to Macalania Temple.
But before we can meet Seymour, we have to go through the Thunder Plains.
Oh no, we're here.
So the Thunder Plains is actually quite a scary place for us, and it's mainly because the enemies are just pretty darn tough. So the best way to get through the random encounters here is the same as always. Make sure Wakka can get his Stone Touch out, and make sure Lulu now can use her Death Strike. So these 2 are becoming the most powerful because Our regular attacks just aren't strong enough. The damage numbers aren't high enough to one-shot anything. It's also very tricky to hit some of the enemies, like the flying enemies in this area. They are resistant to magic, so we can't rely on magic spells, and nobody has high enough accuracy to hit them except for Waka, and even Waka at this stage. It isn't guaranteed that he always hits the flying enemies because we haven't been gaining any more accuracy nodes. So you can see there, 2 of our party members got KO'd and we had to use Phoenix Downs to get them back up again. Yuna and Auron are actually the best 2 to have out because they have quite high HP and defense and can usually survive hits, but everyone else goes down like a sack of shit.
You called?
Yeah, you can see there Waka actually missed with his Blitzball, so even if we connect the hit, we have to hope that Stone Touch goes off, and if it doesn't go off we then have to hit him again when we can miss, and it just means random battles take way longer than they should. But that's part of the fun, I guess, is seeing how challenging random battles are and having to change the way we would usually play the game. A little bit more healing now, and then we get 1 more hit off from Waka. The Stone Touch doesn't go off, but it does enough damage to end the fight. We get halfway through the Thunder Plains and then end up at Rin's agency. And we decided to do a little bit of leveling up just to use some of the sphere levels that we've got. And then I had the idea to do some lightning dodges. So usually you do the lightning dodges at the end of the game when you have no encounters and you dodge 200 lightning bolts in a row, giving you the Venus Sigil for Lulu's celestial weapon. But if you dodge 50 lightning bolts, you actually get 3 strength spheres, which isn't completely necessary, but I thought I'm here, so I might as well do it. And it would just make this run a little bit easier without having to cheat. I can put the strength spheres on Yuna and Lulu and just get them closer to where they should be and make them really strong early on, which is exciting because the strength spheres give you +4 strength each. So that's 12 extra strength on Yuna or Lulu or whoever. So that's really good. It's really good. Now, had I known that this task would take me 2 hours, I maybe wouldn't have done it. But it was worth it in the end. There were several times that I thought to give up because it was just taking far too long. And there's no counter to tell you how many lightning bolts you've dodged. So you have to sit there and count in your head how many you've been dodging and hope that you don't miss any. And every time you get struck by lightning, you have to start all the way from the beginning again. And that doesn't sound too tedious when there's 50 over 200, but it really is. Like, it's so hard to time them. I found this little spot. So if you stand by the lake and wait a few seconds, a lightning bolt will come down, and then immediately after another will come down. So you know that you can get 2 consecutive ones, but you just have to be very, very focused because the timing is so precise. And if you slip up or miss it or do it too early, do it too late, you get hit, you have to start again. Also, you can still get encountered by random battles while you're attempting this. So I decided to put Riku and Auron and Kimahri in the party. So Riku and Auron will always go first because they have more agility and they can steal light curtains and lunar curtains and chocobo feathers from the enemies around here, which is really good for customizing weapons because it can give us SOS haste, SOS shell, SOS protect, which is cool. I get to farm without grinding too many levels because I would flee with Kimahri after, but yeah, this took so long. I'll shorten this so you don't have to watch it all. You won't have to suffer as much as I have. I've sped it up, but yeah, trust and believe, this took a long time. And even when I got 50, I decided to dodge a few more because I could have counted wrong or missed something. So yeah, it was a very, very long process, but we got the 3 strength spheres and hey, I'm happy with it. You know, I put 2 of them on Yuna, I believe, and then I save 1 because Lulu has Death Strike. We kind of don't need her to have a lot of strength at the moment. So I thought I'll save 1 strength sphere for later on if I desperately need it. So yeah, I'm feeling good now. Yuna has really high strength now. She's actually the strongest in our team. She's got more strength than Auron now. So I'm feeling good. It feels like this is what I wanted from this challenge. To see Yuna just bopping enemies with her massive staff. Yeah, I'm really happy. After spending way too long at the Thunder Plains, I'm really excited to crack on and get to our next destination, Macalania. Before we start our journey in Macalania, I decided to get a few sphere levels. Waka has learned all of the level 2 black magic skills now, which is incredible. Tidus is nearly at Cura, he's just got a few more stats on him, which is nice. Kimari's accuracy has increased, making it easier for us to kill the enemies that Tidus usually kills. Lulu gets some strength and some magic, which is awesome because we might learn Drain soon, which is a nice ability on Waka's grid that utilizes Lulu's high magic. Yuna gets some stats and Auron gets a few stats. He also learns Spare Change, which is a pretty crap ability that we never really use. And most importantly, Riku learns Cura before Tidus does, so she is now our most powerful white mage. Okay, so let's test out the strength of our characters after that little level up session. So here we have a wasp and 2 elementals. Nobody can hit the wasp with physical attacks again, they have way too much evasion. So we used Lulu's blizzard spell to get rid of it. And since she's on Waka's grid and Waka kills the wasps, it kind of feels correct that she kills them with Blizzard. I don't know, that's the excuse I'm saying. Vorterra does a lot of damage to us still. Our magic defense and defense and HP, it's always going to be low, way lower than it should be. But check out here how awesome Riku is. She does over 1200 healing to Waka, so she's a way better white mage than Tidus is. And Tidus nearly dies to a Vorterra because he is just very weak. But luckily Riku can get him back. We are just switching through the characters, trying to get everyone experience. Waka's Fundara isn't enough to one-shot these elementals, so we do need to get 2 hits out on them to defeat them. Luckily, Null Tide is super handy in negating any of Vorterra's damage, and you can see that Lancet gets Tidus's MP way back up again. So I actually love using Lancet in this playthrough. It really helped out a lot, having every character be able to just replenish their MP whenever they want to. I wanted to show you another fight here against the Chimera, whatever it's called, the dude with the 2 heads and the tail and the snake and, you know, this guy. Because I feel like this kind of shows off how powerful we are. Even without Stone Touch or Death Touch, our characters are just much better at dealing with things. You can see Lulu's Drain is actually super powerful, way more powerful than Waka's black magic abilities are, because she just is naturally a better black mage than he is. What I really wanted to show you from this fight is just how good our attacks are. Yuna doing 500 damage is awesome. Also, having a poison strike weapon is really good, and Auron's damage is doing about the same as Yuna. And our defense is really good, 183 damage from this guy. That's pretty solid. I get haste out on Yuna just because I want her to attack more and finish the fight. Get one more attack in, and then BAM! 1064 damage. Yuna is a boss ass bitch. We make it out of the woods feeling pretty good about ourselves, and then we head over to Waka and buy the Force Knuckles for Riku, giving her more strength and magic. Then it's time to level up, and Tidus learns Cura and Riku learns Shell. So now it's time to fight the giant jelly queen nucleus monster water thingy. I don't know what this thing is. It's very random. It kind of comes out of nowhere. Nobody knows what it is, why it's there, and it's really uninspiring and ugly.
Drag her!
I feel like the devs just wanted to have a boss battle here, but couldn't think of anything. So like, you know what? It's quite easy to render water. We use water a lot in this game. Let's just have a monster that's a ball of water. It's got a little egg in the middle. But yeah, we're gonna stop judging Spheramoth's appearance because that's not very nice. Let's just judge him as a boss. And as a boss, he has a pretty cool mechanic whereby every time you use a magic spell on Spheramorph, it can either absorb it or be weak to it. And how you tell which magic spell to use on it is by attacking him. So we use Lulu, Waka and Riku as our team for this fight. And the reason for this is Lulu and Waka can both do elemental damage, and Riku can use Cura when our health gets too low. So we bait out an attack with either Lulu and Riku to see which magic ability it counters with. So say it counters with fire, we know to use Blizzard and Blizzara to counter it. And then it will shift again and you rinse and repeat. So the elemental damage that it deals is an automatic counter attack, so it's quite easy to bait out. And it doesn't really do that much damage, so you're pretty safe on that front. And then the physical damage it does is also very weak, so this fight goes by quite smoothly. We use focus to help us out a bit, but yeah, not too much problem. I always really like this boss. I think it's quite cool, the mechanic of having to test what elemental to use and not being able to use physical damage. It gives your mages a chance to shine. I'm going to skip over most of the fight because it is literally the same thing over and over and over again, and you get the gist. We do the thing, it dies, we move on. After the battle, we head to Rin's agency and do a little bit of leveling up. The only notable thing that happens is that we get slow for Kimahri and shell for Tidus. So having slow on Kimahri means we don't have to rely on Tidus's slow touch weapon anymore. And then we go into the next battle, which is against the Al Bhed, who have ambushed us and use this giant cannon machine to kidnap Yuna again. We want to start off by killing the Negator because he stops us from using any magic spells. But the issue is he is out of reach from most characters, so the only person that can hit it is Waka with his Blitzball. But his strength is so low that it won't do enough damage. Luckily, we can use Riku and Auron to use the Use ability and throw Electro Marbles at it and make it go down in only 2 hits. So that's our biggest problem out of the way straight away. We can now use spells so we can heal. And I test out how much Fundara does to this guy, and it only does about 500. It counterattacks with Assault after every single attack that you do. And Assault does almost 1,000 damage to us. And our higher health characters only have about 2,000 HP, so they can just about survive 2 assaults. So here's what I'm thinking. We need to use Yuna and Auron. They have the highest HP and they have the highest strength of any characters. And then Tidus needs to be the 3rd character as he can cure them. Another reason to use Tidus over Riku is that Tidus can use Cheer, which boosts our strength and defense, so we take less damage from assault and deal more damage to the enemy. Kimahri will also be used in this fight to use haste on everyone, and he can also cast slow on the enemy, which is awesome. Luckily on the enemy's turn, all he does is count down to this big mana beam attack that he's doing, so you're pretty safe to do a lot of setup in this fight. The enemy won't attack you for a long time, especially when you have slow on it. It means you get a lot of turns to really set up. I really like this fight actually, because it gives you that time to prepare. So yeah, the mana beam comes out and it does 1,500 damage to all of us. It's a very powerful attack, but once again, it only happens after every 3 turns that the enemy gets, so you can really prepare for it. After every mana beam, it just becomes a case of using lots of high potions and cura to get everyone healthy again before we're ready to attack. But each time we're getting stronger and stronger because we're using haste, we're using cheer. Cheer also increases our defense, so assault does less damage and we won't need to heal up as much after every counter attack. So we bring out Tidus, get everyone healthy again, use some cheers. Also, when the fight goes on for quite a while, it just stops counter-attacking for some reason. At the beginning of the fight, after every single attack, it counter-attacks. And then I think it starts to feel sorry for you. I'm assuming the developers put this in as a thing to make it not last a very long time. So you'll see eventually when we start to attack it, it won't even bother counter-attacking a lot of the time. But even when it does counter-attack, our defense is only getting higher and higher and assault is doing less and less damage. The only thing we really need to worry about is the mana beam, but as soon as we know that mana beam is about to happen on the 3rd turn, we just switch into Lulu, Yuna and Auron as they have really high HP, and they can just tank all the damage. It becomes easier as the fight goes on. The hardest part is the beginning, you know, figuring out what he does and getting all the cheers off to get our defenses higher. So I'll just quickly show you how much health this guy has at this point. Yeah, you can see there he's we need to do a lot of hits to him. Most of the time we're doing like 600, 700 damage even with cheers off. It's another slow one. Like every single boss fight in this game, it's incredibly slow because we just don't have very good stats. So yeah, I know a mana beam is about to come up again, so I'm just making sure everyone is at full health. Yuna whacks him, the mana beam comes out, and let's see how much damage. Yeah, still about 1300, 1500 damage. But luckily, they've all got high enough health that it's not an issue. So we're at the final stretch of the fight here, and we're at the stage where it's just deciding to not bother counter-attacking us, which is perfect. So we send out the dream team of Tidus, Auron, and Yuna, and since it's not counter-attacking as much, it means we can effectively get off even more cheers. Just becomes a case of doing enough damage until it dies. I'm pretty sure we can get it down before it does another mana beam attack. So cheer whenever it's Tidus' turn, and attack whenever it's Yuna and Auron's turn. Heal up whenever it decides it wants to counter attack, and then the fight is over. Quite a challenging fight. It did a lot of damage to us, but once you realise the patterns and how it attacks you, it becomes quite simple, and once you have the correct setup, you're good to go. It's just, once again, a long fight, but pretty enjoyable nonetheless.
He didn't have to be so mean, yeah? I almost cried.
After we win the fight, we get this gross little date scene with Tidus and Riku. It can actually change depending on who you talk to the most and what answers you give in some of the cutscenes. I somehow ended up on Riku, I don't really know how, but it's very gross when you think that she's supposed to be 15 years old. Yeah, this is where we find out that Riku and Yuna are actually cousins, and Tidus is like,
I had no idea. If you say so.
and it's like, did nobody think to ask? Why has this only come up now? Did Tidus not question why Yuna decided to just let Riku join the party? I know I said this before, but I do just find it kind of crazy that nobody questions this. Nobody even asks. They're just like, yep, Riku is now part of the team. This scene's kind of awkward, and Tidus is just really dumb with his responses. He's just like, oh, cool, like he's just being really douchey. Tidus is kind of hot though, I won't lie. I know he's like super annoying and kind of stupid, but there's something kind of hot about that. I don't really know what it is. Maybe it's just because he has his shirt constantly open and wears like little tiny short shorts. I don't know where I'm going with this. Moving on. We arrive at Macalania Temple and it's time for a big boss battle against Seymour. So here's our stats going in. Waka, his magic defense, evasion and accuracy are all on 25, which is interesting. But you can see here Lulu is just still way better with super high magic defense and evasion. Auron has some pretty good strength and his agility is getting up there. His HP is high as well, so he can take some hits. Riku's stats are pretty awful. She is really bad.
Drag me.
But her agility is high and her magic is okay. Then Tidus is the same as Riku, but with slightly higher HP and magic and a little less agility. Kimari's stats are fine. They're nothing crazy. They're very average. His magic defense is awful as well. We don't have Yuna in the party, so we can't see her stats, but her strength is around where Auron's is. She's quite similar in stats to him. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit scared going into this fight with Seymour because he is very powerful. There are 3 phases to the fight. You have to beat Seymour on his own with his 2 little minions, then you have to fight Anima, and then you fight Seymour on his own for the final time. And from what I remember, he does a lot of damage with his magic spells, and Anima can use pain and instantly destroy us. Plus, Anima can also get his overdrive off Oblivion, which does tons of damage. And that's fine if you kill him quickly, but we're not using overdrives anymore, and our stats are low. So we're not going to be killing Anima quickly. He's going to get Oblivion off, whether we like it or not. So I'm not even sure if we're going to be able to survive that, if it's even possible. We're probably going to get a game over, but let's just see how it goes. Let's get into the fight.
I will fight you too.
All right.
So be it.
So the fight begins and immediately the 2 little guards use Protect on themselves, so physical hits aren't going to do too much damage, and Seymour also uses Shell on himself. I used Talk on Tidus, I don't really know why, I just wanted to see what it did, and it raises his strength, which is useless, so that was very pointless. I decided to give Haste to Yuna because Yuna is just a powerful character. I feel like I'm always going to be using her a lot. But then this is where the problem happens. We only did 400 damage with Protect, and the guards counterattack with a high potion that heals 1000 health. So now it becomes a case of just trying to find an attack that does more than 1000 damage. Also, whenever it's their turn, they use a remedy to get rid of poison, so we can't rely on statuses either. And yeah, Lulu's Drain does under 1000. I then send out Waka, and Waka's magic spells do under 1000. So I then send out Riku, and I'm like, okay, maybe she can use Fundaga. So I go through her items and find a Lightning Marble, which does a Fundaga spell, and that just about does over 1000, but we only have like 10 of them, so it's not a very feasible strategy. We're going to run out too quickly, and we won't be able to pierce their armor. So now I'm like, what do I do? I just keep going through, trying to attack. Maybe I thought I'd try to get poison off on him again to see if he always uses remedy, and yes, he does always use remedy. So Lulu's Drain seems to be the highest damaging thing that I can see. I decide to give Lulu haste and then send out Waka to use focus, increasing our magic and magic defense, which is the best strategy I could think of. The magic defense increase also helps us because Seymour only attacks us with magic spells, so we boost up our magic and magic defense until we have enough damage to kill the guards. I haven't even thought about what we're going to do with Seymour yet. I'm just trying to get the guards out of the way. The first phase of this fight is just getting haste out on Waka and Lulu and using lots of focus and drain. So I've skipped ahead a little bit, and that was us getting off our fourth focus. So now you can see Drain is doing about 1200 damage, which is better. It means that it's piercing through the 1000 health that is being regenerated every turn. This Drain actually does 1300 damage, so that's really good. We get off a few more focuses. I'm not sure how many you're allowed to use until it's maxed out, but I just thought I would use as many as possible because we're in a pretty good position. I was just scrolling through Riku's items to see if there was anything she could do, but I didn't want to mess it up, so I just stole a high potion. We use Drain again, we're doing 1300 damage, we're now looking good. He is going to go down to one more Drain, I believe. We get off another focus just in case we're not maxed out, and now it's time for the final Drain to get him KO'd. Yes, that is one down. Unfortunately, the next guard is suffering from broken heart syndrome and can't counterattack with his high potion because his friend is dead, and we just kill him with 2 spells. And then it's time to kill Seymour. And I forgot that he had Shell on him, so I'm throwing magic attacks and it's not really doing much. So I just decide to attack and see if we can kill him like that. Lulu and Waka aren't the strongest two at the moment, so they're not doing much damage, so I send in the big bad bitch herself, and Yuna does just over 800 damage to him. We just keep attacking him. I don't bother sending out anyone else because he's not a threat to us. But what is a threat to us is his big ass scary Aeon Anima, which we've seen what this guy can do in Luca when he was zapping away those fiends, and now we have to fight him. So this is pretty scary, and he's actually pretty tough. So he goes for boost every other turn, and in between those boosts he uses pain, which doesn't do any damage to us, it just immediately kills us. And that's a problem because we've got 6 focuses off on Waka and Lulu, so as soon as they get KO'd, all that focus is gone and they're no longer using really powerful spells. Every time he uses boost, it increases his overdrive gauge, which means he's going to use his Oblivion attack, and like I said before, I don't know how much damage it's going to do. I feel like it's going to be a lot because I know this enemy is tough, so I want to kill him before he can get Oblivion off, but we're just probably not doing enough damage. I'm worried that we're going to get a KO, but I'm thinking if we do get a KO, the strategy would be to get off loads of cheers and focuses before we go into the Anima fight to make sure we have enough damage to get him down before Oblivion. But I just thought I would see how it goes. We're doing good damage with Waka. He's doing over 1600 damage. Aura and Yuna are also doing about 1100 damage each. So I'm like, okay, we're pretty powerful, right? And then I see his overdrive gauge fill up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to send out my strongest characters. I've got Auron out. I feel like Auron is the one who could survive. If anyone were to survive, it would be Auron. Kimari has a sensor on his weapon, which shows us that Anima only has 3000 HP left. So I'm like, can I find anything that does 3000 damage? I'm panicking a bit. I'm just going through and seeing if there's anything I can do to just kill him immediately before he gets Oblivion off. But I'm not seeing any options, so I'm like, okay. I'm going to send out Yuna, and I'm going to use a high potion. And that gets Auron all the way close to his maximum HP, but not quite. And then Oblivion comes out. And it's pow, 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 damage, damage, damage. Everyone's dying. Everybody's dead except Auron. He does one final blast and I'm like, oh god, Auron, you can do it, buddy. I believe in you. And he survives with 500 HP. So, hey, that's pretty good. I thought that was going to be an instant game over and we survived it. Barely, but we survived. Now, we need to make sure we get everybody back up on their feet, ready again. And we really do not want another Oblivion to go off. So nobody's looking very healthy. We've got 2 KO'd party members and we've also got everyone else on very little health. Also, Anima gets a lot of turns in. He has very high agility. So Pain is going to be coming out very quickly. He's going to be boosting very quickly. So I'm just trying to make sure I get everyone up and ready because I know that once we defeat Anima, we then have to fight Seymour again. So we need to make sure everyone is healthy and that we kill him quick and that we still have enough MP and HP remaining to defeat Seymour in the 3rd stage of the fight. This is a tough battle. One of the best in the game. I think this is probably my favourite boss battle actually. Because this is the first time we see Seymour being evil and we get to see the power of Anima. We also get to see Anima's Oblivion Overdrive for the first time, which is badass as hell. It's just one of those battles that you never forget after you finish playing the game. You remember this battle, you know. It's got multiple phases to it. It's everything I love in a boss battle. It's a very key moment in the story where things start to shift. But yeah, we're getting towards the end of the phase. We get one more drain off with Lulu giving us an overkill, but it ain't over yet because we've still got to kill Seymour himself.
That power that defeated Anima, it will be mine!
I'm feeling pretty good going into this fight because I didn't think Seymour would actually be that difficult. I know he uses a lot of magic spells, so I get a magic break on him to try and negate some of the damage that he deals to us. I can't exactly remember what he does, but I know he's powerful. And everyone's kind of beat up from the Anima fight, so I'm just trying to get people back up to a good amount of health. So he goes for multi-Blizzara, and I'm like, whoa, 1500 damage. Okay, he's a lot stronger than I thought he'd be. And I'm starting to panic a bit because he has a lot of agility. And if he uses multi-Blizzara or multi-whatever again, it's going to KO another character. So I'm like, crap, okay, I need to think about this. I send out Lulu because I know that Lulu has higher magic defense. And this is a time where I think, okay, I have 2 Mega Phoenixes. If I'm ever going to use one, this is the time. I don't want to be retrying this fight. So I use the Mega Phoenixes, which means we can survive another turn. And this time, after his multi-attack, only 1 character goes down. So we have 2 characters to play with. I send out Kimari and get haste onto Yuna because I know that Yuna is going to be a strong asset. She's got good magic defense, good attack, and she can also use magic break. I also noticed that the magic break didn't actually go off. So we managed to do that again. And this time, we're looking so much healthier. 700 damage onto Yuna and only 400 damage onto Kimari thanks to his red armlet that we picked up ages ago in Kilika. We're looking good. This is looking nice. Everyone's back up and we use a mega potion just to get our health back up, and his attacks are barely doing anything. We get haste off onto Riku so she can put shell on everyone just to make his magic even weaker. So yeah, now that everybody's up and his magic has been broken and everybody's got shell, I'm not worried at all. So he goes for another attack and you can see 400 damage and 400 damage. Easy. We went from 1500 to 400. So that just goes to show how powerful Shell is and Magic Break. It just halves everything, you know? So we just keep on attacking a few more times and we get him down. Okay, that was a pretty difficult fight, but we got through it. And I think that's where we're going to leave it here today. This is a really nice stage in the story where things start to change. So On the next episode, we're going to end up in Beacon Island and we're going to continue from there. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you soon.